Hey, gang, and welcome to a rescheduled Apples and Oranges. This is going to be the Tenebrae or Inferno You Choose show. Um, Me and Chris are shortly going to be talking about our favorite between the two films and kind of give an explanation of it. Um, I wanted to be as detailed as we could be about this, but this may be a little bit shorter than some apples and oranges, mainly because in the last hour or so, I've gotten extremely wiped out, and I don't think y'all want to see me go to sleep on the live stream. That would not be interesting at all. And plus, I wouldn't want to fall asleep and leave poor Chris by himself on here. I'm sure he could keep you guys entertained, but when somebody else has the controls, that would kind of leave him in uh, a lurch a little bit. So um, I hope that everybody has been enjoying all the Argento programming. I introduced a new uh, show, Argento Assassins, on Monday. And I hope those of you that watched that either live as I was doing it or on the replay enjoyed it. Uh, okay, something happened with StreamYard. It kicked me right out of StreamYard. So, um, hey, Blissful. So sorry about that, folks. That happens from time to time with StreamYard that it will just kick you out and tell you something went wrong. I don't think anything happened with my internet, so I don't know what it was. I blame StreamYard. So, anyway, like I was saying, the Argento Assassins mainly focuses on the killers in the particular films that I was talking about, and I talked about Bird with the Crystal Plumage. And Steve, you say you did that? Well, stop doing that. Stop kicking me out of StreamYard. Um, and I talked about Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and I also talked about Cat of Nine Tails and the killers in that. But I've also been doing some Horror Hound Weekend, Countdown to Horror Hound Weekend, um, pre recorded things. So I hope that y'all have been catching those as I do those. Those will take place on Sundays leading up to Horror Hound Weekend in September. So I'm going to go ahead before I just start to become a rambling mess or StreamYard kicks me out again. I'm going to go ahead and add Chris, and we're going to get started here shortly talking about these movies. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Dana, how's it going?
Good, as long as I can stay on StreamYard for the remainder of this.
What happened there?
It just it popped up on the screen, said try again, something went wrong, and it just basically kicked me out of the studio. So
Hey, Blissful, how's it going?
Steve, you're never gonna do that again? Okay, well, I hope so. I don't really think it was my husband that did that. He's just kidding around. So, Chris, did you get both movies rewatched?
I did. I've watched them and have a little bit of a different opinion on one of them now, like over the other. So yeah.
That'll be interesting. I think I have the same opinion, and I rewatched Inferno and rewatched part of Tenebrae, but I'm more well versed in Tenebrae than I am Inferno, so I was like, I think
Well, same here with me. But rewatching Inferno, like it, it really sparked my interest again in rewatching the whole Three Mothers trilogy. Um, because Suspiria is my favorite Argento film of all time, anyway. Um, but then like I was like, oh yeah, well there's the whole trilogy, So like I kind of want to go back and watch them in order again. Like go ahead and watch the Spirit again, then right after watch, Inferno, and then watch Mother of Tears.
Right.
But I'm glad I watched these two over back to back today though, because I don't think I've ever done that with Inferno and Tenebrae,
Mhm.
where I watched them back to back, and it just goes to show like you can definitely see Argento's style of filmmaking in both, but
Right.
they're two totally different films. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we'll get into that though.
So, yeah, I never, just to kick this off, I never was a huge fan of Inferno. Um, I always found, and I still find it, it's got some good kills in it. The color scheme is great in it. It's got those great Argento visuals in it. The music is great. Um, but I just find it so much slower than his other films. It almost feels like the pacing is off for me, and it I don't know, it just doesn't seem to flow well for me. And maybe that's just me. Maybe there's something
I can kind of
internally
see
wrong with me.
I can kind of see what you mean. But like at the same time, um, it doesn't feel much different of the pacing wise with the rest of his films, honestly, to me.
Mhm,
Um, but I think it might just have to me, I love Inferno,
mhm.
but um, I never understood why they chose the guy that plays Mark in the film to be the lead guy, because to me he's the least interesting thing about that film.
Yeah, yeah, you are right. You are right on that. He just seems to. I felt like he just mumbled his way from scene to scene to scene, and he just didn't. He did not. He was not an active participant to me in the film. He was just kind of. It was almost as if somebody was moving him, just like a chess piece.
Yeah, like he's the lead guy, but like it's just kind of like he's just there,
Hmm.
and every other character surrounding him is a lot more interesting. Like
Hmm.
with as any Argento film is, he keeps you guessing throughout the whole film of
Right.
like what's going to happen next, what's going to happen next, and as within any film that's released out there, you're usually kind of introduced to who's going to be your lead characters within the first maybe 10 to 20 minutes of the film. With this, with Inferno, it's so wild because, you're first introduced to Rose and then her brother Mark and Mark's friend Sarah. And you're thinking, well, this is going to be like our like main cast, and then with maybe the exception of a couple other people like Daria Nicolodi, whose character the Countess, that's later introduced in the film. But with each of those female characters is introduced, they're just killed off one by one, like very kind of early after their introductions into the film.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And so then all you are left with is the Mark character.
Yeah, and then when you got the what was his name, like Kazare something, the book the
Oh,
bookstore guy.
yeah.
I always forget his name, but I mean he's kind of like more of a minor character. He's shown her now and then like then of course he gets killed off too later,
Mm,
um, by where the rats attack him in out on in like the pond or whatever, and and then like the hot dog vendor guy comes over and he's possessed by the witch and just kills him.
Yeah,
So
he just it's that I knew what was going on, but it just seemed so random too. The guy looks out, the hot dog vendor looks out there and sees the guy being attacked by the rats, and
and
then
it
the
and
next
the
thing you know, he's hacking at his neck
yeah,
with
the
the hot.
thing is like it doesn't really explain that. I just thought that was that was my assumption. I was like, well, he's just became possessed by a spell by the witch by the um shoot, what do they call her? Mater Tenebrae. It's Tenebrae. Something is in the name. I forget
Yeah,
how they pronounce it. It's something Italian. It's
yeah,
but yeah, and you know, I hope nobody's watching that hasn't seen the movie. Uh, so like, 'cause
yeah. A word of warning: we may give away spoilers in this, so
yeah,
if you haven't seen these and you don't want it spoiled, you may want to, come back later and watch this on the replay after you've seen them.
but I do find it interesting. Like the character that was never given a name in the film. It's just the nurse.
Yeah,
Uh, that's who ends up being the witch mother in Tenebrae something other. Um, and but yeah, as like I kind of figured that out when I watched this for the first time a long time ago.
mhm,
I was like, because you're wondering like if you've seen this or if you had seen Suspiria before this, which is the case with me, and then I
yeah,
go into and I knowing that this was like billed as a sequel to Suspiria, you know, my mind from the very start of the film is like, okay, who's going to be the witch in this? Because that's what they're going with. They're going over the three mothers, and there's one in Rome, there's one in Germany, which is where Suspiria took place, is the
yeah,
one in Germany, and then there's one in New York. So this is pretty much this whole thing, aside from a couple scenes when Mark was in school in Rome. The majority of the film takes place in New York. Um, so you're going to assume that like that where because his sister Rose was killed there, and that's why he's going back there because she had wrote him that letter. You're just going, okay, so the witch has got to be in this place, like it's somewhere, and we got to figure out who it is. Um, so I'm just like I said, the first time I watched this, I automatically just assumed. I didn't know for sure, but I was like, I seen the old guy like in the wheelchair that was kind of he was like a mute, and he
mhm,
had the nurse, and you only see them like at that one part in the beginning. You see her, the nurse, a couple more times, but the old guy, you're kind of like, well, he's in that one part, but there has to be something to do with him, so he's going to come into play later in the film.
right,
Um, and it shows the name of the author of the three mothers, but Varelli.
Borelli.
So I don't know if that's just me. I'm sure there's other people that has probably figured that out too. But like I automatically assume like that this old guy in the wheelchair that doesn't talk has to have something to do with this author that just disappeared. Um, and I said the nurse has something to do with it too. But honestly, like I was kind of thinking like back and forth that the nurse was the witch, and then there was the other that like the concierge. Her name was Carol. I
Yeah,
also kind of when I thought that, but like I said, that's been a long time since I was first seen Inferno. But I do love the movie very much. But I think it's right up my alley for sure. As
uh-huh,
far as like, because I love any kind of films dealing with witches and stuff like that, and all those really vibrant colors that they use in the scenes of Inferno, and there's always something just in like every Argento film, like in the background of every scene, it feels like something is like lurking or like waiting. You're
yeah,
waiting for something to happen. I don't know what it is. I think it has a lot to do with like because where he uses crane shots a lot in
Mm.
his films, and so he kind of just like covers everything, the whole grounds of the area where he's shooting.
Mhm.
Um, and I'll talk more about that when we talk about Tenebrae because there's a very interesting theme
Yeah.
regarding that. Um, but um, but yeah, like I think I'm maybe with you. Like I love Inferno. I think it's a great film. Um, and it lines up in that same category with Suspiria, because it's a sequel to it, and Suspiria being my favorite Argento film. But there's something a little bit more about Tenebrae, I feel, that
Mm.
appeals to me, even though I like the witch subgenre in horror. I love how everything plays out in Tenebrae more than what I do Inferno, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Um, I wanted to ask you about too the underwater scene near the beginning of the
Oh
film
yeah, yeah.
where Rose uh, has been reading the Three Mothers book, and it talks about where all the keys are hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And one is supposed to be in the cellar. So
Right.
she goes into the cellar, but she has her keys. I guess it's maybe her house keys, possibly
I'm
maybe
assuming it's
apartment
her
keys.
apartment
Yeah,
keys.
apartment keys. But when she bends over and she's looking in this crack in the floor, or
Mm-hmm.
like a hole in the floor, and there's water there, a lot of water, and her key ring slips off and goes in there. You know, the first thing I was thinking of though was, I think instead of jumping in that water and swimming around, I think I would try to get some replacement keys. But anyway, we wouldn't have this great underwater scene,
Right.
which is a scene that a lot of people talk about when they talk about Inferno, is this underwater scene because it's a room underneath.
Yeah, it's a ballroom down there. You can tell all the stuff that's like kind of surrounding, and then and as she grabs her keys and she's trying to make it back to the top, here come all these like decomposing bodies that are
Yeah.
floating up, and they keep hitting, like the heads of them keep hitting her feet, and she just like keep
Keeps
kicking them
like
back. And
kicking them down, and um, but that was probably, if I had to have a favorite scene in Inferno, that underwater scene is probably my favorite, just because of, it's expertly shot, as all of Argento's movies pretty much are. But that scene in particular, I enjoyed going back and watching that scene again, even with the corpses in there, because that just made it even better. And you
and
knew something was going to happen because the door kept moving and
right.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
I do love that. So that's probably one of my favorite scenes of the film too. And it's up there along with the ending too. I like the ending a lot when the witch comes to the mirror and turns into death.
yeah.
I think that's really cool. I really like when the bookstore guy that was, like I said, that his death. I thought that was really cool that they included like these rats chewing on him and
I
stuff.
think
And,
that was
uh,
justified because he was going to kill those poor cats.
yeah. Well, those cats kind of deserved it. I mean,
He was gonna drown
when
them in
was
bath.
Daria Nicolodi's character, the Countess, like she gets attacked, like mauled by these cats.
Yeah,
Um,
but I
like when
wonder, were the cats? I'm guessing the cats were probably possessed
that's
too.
what I'm thinking. They were definitely because when they came in that room, like basically they were attacking her,
Hmm.
and that's by them attacking her and then making all that noise. That's what led, um, basically like the guy that came in there and like and kills her and stabs her to death. Um, so Yeah, I don't. That's what I was just my assumption. I assumed that they were possessed, and I think the rats were as well. Um,
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
those
it's hard to tell with rats, so they could just be like rats just wanting to attack and eat somebody. I
but
don't know.
there were hundreds of them. They just kept coming out of that pipe and kept coming out of the pipe. And
Yeah,
then even after the guy was dead, they were still, crawling around, and there were, did you notice that some of them were clearly white rats? I mean, these weren't sewer rats. I think these were like what you would find in the pet store or
yeah.
whatever. And they just probably colored them or slapped some mud on them or did something to make them look dark.
But like my biggest gripe, like I think I already stated that is with my biggest gripe about Inferno is with the main character being Mark, and you know I feel like it could have been maybe received better by a lot of people if there were more character interaction in the film, and they hadn't killed off so many of the female characters that were in. I feel like um, you maybe could have liked the Mark character better
Hmm.
if Rose had been kept alive and they kind of had that brother sister relationship thing, or even if they were going to still kill off Rose, kept Sarah alive and have Sarah come back to New York with Mark. I feel like that's what works in a lot of Italian horror is the male and female lead like partnership throughout the
Yeah.
film that kind of carries the whole film. It's hard. I think it's really tough when you just have one main character trying to carry the whole thing throughout the film, and especially when they're not very interesting, like this Mark character. I was like, man, this is. I mean, I love this movie. I don't. It doesn't hold it back enough to where I dislike the film or anything, but I just feel like I would have liked the movie a lot more if they had went with a different choice for that part, or if they'd had somebody to kind of help support him in the film. Because I felt like that because Daria Nicolodi that was Dario Argento's partner time. It's Asia Argento's mother,
Yeah.
and she was basically in just all those films that Argento was putting out around that time. Um, and it was a lot smaller part. I mean, maybe not as small a part as what she has in Suspiria because she just has that little cameo at the beginning there in Suspiria. But like because she's a great actress, and she's great in Tenebrae. Um,
Oh,
and
fantastic.
and then the lady I don't know her name, but the one that plays Rose. I mean, and even his friend Sarah. I mean, they were all good looking women, and
Mhm.
I felt like they didn't get enough exposure in Inferno.
I think Rose was Irene Miracle. I
Okay,
think that
and
that's
she did great. She does great in Inferno as well.
Mhm.
And I was a lot, and I'll just tell you from the very beginning, for the first time I ever watched the film, I was way more interested in her as a character than I was Mark, because Mark just felt so spaced out.
Yeah,
And
it was like, and I don't know if part of it had to do with dubbing, because I always have to
yeah,
take that into account when I'm watching one of these Argento films.
and I will say that another thing that they kind of never like elaborated much on in Inferno is the girl that's in. She shows up in Mark's music class, and then later he sees her in the
Oh,
taxi.
yeah, yeah,
And
and
I'm
she's got
just
a cat with
I
her.
mean, how did you like see that? Did you see that was just as a girl that he was just kind of being, um, seduced by, that was under the possession of one of the witches?
I
Because that
wonder.
was in Rome, and like they said, the three mothers. There's one witch in Rome. There's one in New York. There's one in
Yeah.
Germany. So, and they could have all that connection, even though they're far apart. They could. So I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
was
I'm not sure.
thinking maybe it was the witch that was in Rome,
Right.
and that instead of looking like she would normally look, which would probably be an older woman, in order to seduce Mark. She was a sex
That's
worker.
possible. I just looked at it like the way I do because of the scene with the hot dog vendor, you know. So that shows me that any of the witches can just take control over any soul or any human being or whatever, or any kind of being. I mean, like I said, I think that they were possessing the cats as well. So I don't know. It's really. I think that's the good thing about Argento's films is that everybody kind of looks at them differently, and just kind of tries to explain it the best way they can in their own way. So,
And I'm glad that Chris had a different point of view after rewatching Inferno, um, because my thoughts pretty much stayed the same. Because I don't hate the film. I think it's a very well made film.
yeah.
Um, it's I think part of what it is with me is that I'm more attracted to the Jallo-esque things. There
Mm,
were Jallo-esque elements in this, but I would not call this a Jallo, just like I wouldn't call Suspiria a Jallo. They are, to me, they're supernatural films because they have the witch element in them. And I think I gravitate more towards the Jallo stuff, the
right.
deep red, Tenebrae, and the ones like that. It doesn't mean that I don't like Suspiria,
Mhm.
but it shocks big time Argento fans sometimes whenever I say my top three Argento films. I start out with Deep Red. That's my all time favorite. Then I go to Tenebrae, and then Suspiria is third. And a lot of people either like Chris, they say Suspiria is their favorite,
There's
or
Candace.
hey, Candace,
She, she got the Beetlejuice Fanta,
ooh, cool.
the
Is
what's it
that like
called?
is it like
Haunted
green
apple.
apple or
It's
yeah,
spice green apple,
Yeah, it's called Haunted Apple.
but I'm
cool.
Here you go.
no, that's for you.
Oh, is it for me? All right,
I'm
thanks.
leaving.
Oh, okay.
I'll be watching you guys.
I
Get
love
back
you,
at
Ken.
it. Come on, love you.
I'm kind of the opposite though, Dana. Because I lean more towards Argento's like supernatural stuff. Like Suspiria is my favorite. Phenomena is my second favorite.
Mhm.
Now it's really up in there, like in the air for me. Like for the third spot, um, it's probably Tenebrae, and that's not supernatural at all. I mean, that's more of the
Right.
giallo type stuff. Um, but that's the thing. I love both, but I lean more towards the supernatural type stuff.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that they're all of them, are going to be in my top favorites. Because like I said earlier, I enjoy Tenebrae more than I do Inferno.
Mhm.
And I just think there were certain things that kind of held that back from me putting Inferno over Tenebrae, and one of that being the lead actor in the film. I mean, I'm not saying he's terrible or anything, but he was the least interesting thing in the film for me. Um, and when you watch a movie, you know you're supposed to care about the main characters. You're supposed they're there for a reason to keep the viewer, intrigued and appeal to the viewer.
Mhm.
And I didn't get that with this guy. I was more interested in knowing what the bookstore owner was doing.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Um, It looks like John is in here. John says, I definitely lean more towards the Giallo slasher stuff. Inferno is okay, but Tenebrae is top tier film in my opinion.
Yeah, and he's right. Tenebrae is a top tier film, Argento wise. I mean, and it's a top tier film, I'm sure, for a lot of people overall too. Just based off of my interests and everything, I'm if I had to guess, I mean, Tenebrae would probably be in my top 30 horror films, but like, yeah, I mean, it would be like maybe like 20 something ranked. Like because there's a lot of stuff that I like, and it's all varies. It's not any one subgenre or anything. But I can be very picky sometimes, and I'm not discrediting Tenebrae at all when I say that.
It's good to be picky sometimes, Chris. So,
Yeah, I'm not,
especially with movies.
but it is. It's a top film for Argento. Definitely. There's some people out there. I was watching this one guy's review earlier on YouTube. I think he's from like some group called Killer Flicks or something like that. And he was watching. He had just watched Tenebrae for the first time. That's why he did this review. And he just said he had a friend that had told him about it forever, and then he had never really watched any of Argento's films, so he said he hadn't seen Suspiria or anything like that either. But he put, after watching Tenebrae one time, he said that it's one of his favorite films of all time now. And and it definitely deserves that, I think, because like I said earlier, and I don't know if you're ready to go into talking about Tenebrae or not.
Yeah, we can go if you think of something else about Inferno, we can always go back and talk about that too.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of covered as much as we could about Inferno. I mean, we talked about most of what happens in the film and stuff. So, but with Tenebrae, like I was saying, Argento, it's one of those things with him where he's always leaving you guessing what's next in the film. And I feel like for Giallo, Tenebrae has one of the coolest twists in any Giallo film or Argento film, or whatever, any horror film in general. I love that the film, as spoiler alert, has two killers.
It does. It does.
And there's one that exists in the first half of the film, and there's one that exists in the second half of the film. And to my knowledge, they don't ever work together. It's just something that the one guy, the one in the second half, just kind of like does. So he's taking advantage of what's already happened with the first killer.
Right.
And
I got a question to ask you real quick, Chris, about the two killers. Okay, so what is your take on the woman, this sequence that keeps playing throughout the film of it seems like several guys chasing a woman who I think I heard from Steve or I heard somewhere that woman used to be a man. But I don't know.
I don't know about
I don't
that.
know for a fact. I just heard that. Steve, were you the one to tell me that? But anyway, that's kind of beside the point.
If that's the case, I mean, that lady in the film is very feminine to be a man, to have been a man.
But so it appears that there are several men in similar, like it's almost like it's the same person multiplied. And I took that to mean somebody had, some kind of mental illness where maybe multiple personality disorder or something like that. Because you see several men chasing the woman, and then one of the guys, she ends up putting her high heel shoe, which is bright red, in his mouth after being hit by the guy and getting her mouth all bloody. So my question for you, Chris, is which of the killers do you think that is representing?
Well, they explain it in the movie. It's Peter. That's Peter that it's representing because what it is that so that's just a flashback sequence because that was Peter's first kill. And he was in love with this woman. And basically the way I seen it is that, she is I don't even know if they ever said they were even together, but he was just in love with her.
Right.
And then, like, so in this first sequence, we see there's 3 other guys there, and it looks like they're getting ready to have a gangbang on her or something.
But
And
I
then,
always thought that those were maybe different facets of Peter's personality, or that he had fractured into different personalities.
I don't see it that way. I just see it as that he was in love with her, and she was just basically, a slut, and she just kind of fooled around with whoever. And here she was. I thought she was going to have. It looks like she's going to have sex with these other 3 guys, and then Peter walks into there, which you don't see his face or anything in that sequence, but and he's catching them. He catches her in the act about to have sex with these guys, and that's why he slaps her. And then after they kind of like chase him down and they beat him up, and then she sticks her shoe like or the heel like in his mouth and everything, and they're just kind of and then it goes later in the film, there's that second sequence where it comes back to that woman again, and she's killed, she's stabbed in the stomach. And that's just how I always took it, is that was that was his first kill, and then after that it kind of like turned him against women in a sort of a way, and that's why he wrote Tenebrae, and that's why all these women are being killed in in the book. And then as he's going over to Rome for like the book tour or whatever, because it just becomes huge over there in Rome, then that's when we bring in the killer from the first half of the film, Cristiano, who works for like the Channel 1 News or something, where he's the one that he did like the interview with him and stuff. And so he's just become like this stalker of Peter. And then so he's killing off all these women, and that's the thing, like that's the main thing that you notice is like he's only targeting women because he's trying to become that killer that's in Peter's book.
Right.
And then go ahead.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Chris. So like I did remember that they did explain that was something from Peter.
They do vaguely at the end. The guy detective, when he's in the car with Anne, he briefly explains it.
Yeah, but can you think back to the very first time? And this might be hard, Chris. The very first time you saw Tenebrae, before you knew what the ending was going to be and that discussion and all that. Did you have any ideas? Were you pretty sure it was Peter that was showed in those flashbacks, or did you think it could be the other killer once it?
Well, I mean, it usually with any Italian horror film, it takes me a couple times to watch it to kind of put all the pieces together, and that's basically what an Argento film is like he's got all these little pieces of a puzzle just kind of roaming about throughout the film, and then it's your job as the viewer to put them together. And like I said, is just to put those together and just kind of figure out what's going on. But no, I mean, like the very first time that I watched it, no, I was a little bit confused on all the events happening, and then after the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense now because when you watch a movie, you watch to the first time, you try to get as much information as you can, scene by scene, and then you kind of put it together in your head, your review or whatever of it. But then if you watch it a second time, you already know what's going to happen in the end, so you can find things that you didn't see before or didn't catch to kind of make it more sense for yourself.
Right, exactly. Now, John brings up one of my favorite scenes and favorite kills in the film. He said that scene of the camera going in and out of the house with the two girls getting killed is brilliant. And if I'm thinking right, this is the one I love. I absolutely love this shot of the girl. Is it Hildy or Hilda or is it?
It's like Hilda or is it Tilda?
Maybe it is Tilda.
It's either Hilda or Tilda. Let me look real quick. I think it's Tilda.
But when she is
it's Tilda. Yeah, Tilde.
Tilda, okay. She takes a shirt off and she's putting another like white shirt on, and the killer comes into the house and she's pulling the shirt over, and they take that razor and just, and you see her face. That is one of the most incredible shots I believe I've ever seen.
Well, I mean that scene, both the kills within that scene, the one of Tilda with the shirt with her face through the hole of the shirt,
right.
And then the girl, I can't remember the girl's name, the one that lives with her, it's like her lover, but she's also like seeing, she's sleeping with men. She had just slept with a man like right before that. Both of those kills within that scene are both iconic.
Yes.
I mean, the roommate or the lover of Tilda that was upstairs, she's on the poster. Like that's her on the poster, because you see that shot after she's killed and her throat is sliced and her head's hanging off through those stairs, the edge of those stairs. That's the poster of the film. And then you see there's I can't remember who released it, maybe Arrow or somebody released Tenebrae on Blu-ray, and one of the covers for that is the shot of Tilda with her face through the hole of the t-shirt. I mean, like I said, I think both of those kills just within that scene is iconic. And another thing that's iconic about it is the crane shot that that you're referring to as if like the killer is like kind of covering the whole layout of the house, and you're just seeing this camera just go like up and down and across and all around every square inch of that house or apartment building or whatever it may be.
Very fluid camera.
I think it's very, very, awesome how Argento, just has an eye for that to think to do something like that is genius, and I think he really is a genius when it comes to that. But yeah, as far as like it goes with the two killers, when I first watched it, I just assumed throughout the whole film that Peter was the killer and he was the only killer. The Cristiano being revealed as the killer of the first half of the film is what really surprised me the first time I ever watched Tenebrae, because I really didn't expect that at all. But I think that's good when you don't expect it. It's when stuff comes as a surprise to you like that. And it's just interesting that Peter only came into those killings because he knew that it already, people were finding out that Cristiano was the killer. So, and he had, there's this whole side plot in the film of him stuff going on with Jane, which is his lover from over in the U.S. And then there's like John Saxon's character, which is like his agent.
Yeah.
And then
But John Saxon's character turned out to be real sleazy because we find out that he's having an affair with Jane,
right.
and there's all kinds of like stuff going on in this film.
And John Saxon's character in the film, like when his character gets killed, that's one of the key moments in the film where you realize something's going on here, because all the kills before were targeting women,
Right.
and you knew that something was going on with Jane. And as she was coming over there to Rome, because they look at the him and Anne look at the window and they see her like drive by in a car. And then, and shortly before John Saxon's death, it's revealed that, that Jane and John Saxon's character are having an affair together. And so that's kind of like one of those things where, like I said, when I watched the film initially, I was kind of guessing that Peter was part of the killings. And that's when I knew for sure. Is like I knew that he was involved, because the pattern had went off track as far as the killing the women, because here a male character has been killed now, and it's giving you a hint within that scene where it's revealed they're having an affair, that who else is going to have a motive to kill John Saxon's character,
right?
But
I have to say the coup de grace kill in this movie has to be Jane's death.
Oh yeah,
that is probably one of the most widely shown clips on YouTube of an Argento film, and that is because, and spoiler alert, gang, if you have not seen this, if you want to literally watch somebody paint the room red with their own blood, then you need to see the end of Tenebrae, because Jane comes into the house and then she's not in there very long when an axe comes down and chops off her hand. She's going like this and flailing around. Blood is spraying all over the wall.
Yeah, because like shortly before that, in that scene, she had called Anne and told her to come over, and I guess Jane was setting her up, because as you see before the axe comes to the window and chops off Jane's head, she's sitting there aiming at the doorway with her gun. And and then it's when like the axe comes in, chops off her hand that's holding the gun, and then like when the hand gets chopped off, do you ever notice this? It shows like the hand like with the twitch with the gun. And so, and that's like you said, that scene after that, when she's like spraying the blood all over the wall, and it's like, and it shows up because the walls are white, and so the blood is showing up so much better, as far as that, and the color they used for the blood was very bright, in Tenebrae, and I thought that helped it more as far as visually, and. I like when they showed Tenebrae on the last drive-in, and Darcy, she redoes the scene with Jane with the spraying the blood over the wall and everything.
Yeah, right.
Oh, and speaking of the last drive-in, I found out right before I got on here. Actually, I saw a post on Facebook that the guy that does all their music, and he's on the show, occasionally, John Brennan. Just lost everything in a house fire.
Oh, how awful.
So yeah, they've got a GoFundMe set up right now for him, because he literally just lost everything, and that he had. His whole house got burned up, and so I hope if there's anybody out there that's able to donate to him, that'd be awesome. I hope. Me and Candace are going through our own struggles right now. And so, I mean, nothing as bad as that. Like I said, I made a post on Facebook a couple of nights ago. Whenever you think that everything's going wrong for you, just remember there's always somebody out there that's having it rougher than you are. And definitely that's the case with him. So, my prayers are with him. I hope everything works out, and that people are able to donate and help him out and stuff.
Mm-hmm. If they still have that up when I get paid again, I may
Yeah, yeah,
send
I would
them.
like to be able to as well. Just I said, it depends. Like right now, it's a crazy. I can't really get into it. I think the gist of it. I'm sure Candace has told you a little bit about what's going on with us, but yeah, I mean, everybody needs help though sometimes.
Yeah, and if you pray, pray for at least one person a night. If you don't pray, then send some good, like, positive vibes their way.
Um, but to get back on track about Tenebrae, I seen a comment from TJ on here. He says originally Nickelodeon was going to play Jane. Also found out something else about there was another person considered to play Peter actually, and that was Christopher Walken.
Now
And
that would have been
I
interesting.
think that would have been great because that was around the same time as Christopher Walken did the Dead Zone, and Dead Zone, Christopher Walken is amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
So just to have seen him possibly play Peter Neal in Tenebrae, or just Christopher Walken working with Argento in general, would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
But the guy that played, I think his name is Anthony
I
Franciosa,
can never pronounce it
something
correctly.
like that. He did a great job. He was very convincing as because when you see him how he is throughout the film, compared to like that flip of the switch in his like brain at the
Right.
end where he's in that full killer mode.
Yeah.
He does a great job, and also like I said, that twist is amazing with just like, because there's a killer in the first half, and then he takes that momentum that killer's had killing, and he's gonna say, well, I'm gonna try to make it look like he's still doing these killings because I'm gonna kill off Jane and whatever John Saxon's characters. I keep forgetting what his character's name is, but
Yeah.
and then he kills Johnny as well. I
Yeah.
think actually, now that I think about it, he kills a few more people too. Peter actually had more kills in the film over time, including that first girl from the flashbacks,
Right.
than what Cristiano did. Because I think Cristiano killed 4 women throughout the film.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, let's count them. Peter killed the lady from his past.
Yep.
He killed Jane. He killed both detectives. He killed the little assistant Johnny. He killed John Saxon. And did I already say Jane?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it was like 6 or 7 people, so I know that he had more of a kill count than what Cristiano did.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though
Definitely did.
but like I think it's a fantastic film. Tenebrae is amazing. I think
And that ending scene just keeps going and keeps going. It's like the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting ramped up. I mean, you have Jane's kill, and you have the fake kill.
Yeah, and then that's
Peter
another
Neal,
twist
where
to
he
it.
seems to slit his own throat.
Yeah, because he's just like he's just trying to he knows he's been caught now, so he like fakes his death by trying like making it look like he slits his throat with this razor when it was a dull razor and it had like the things that shot out fake blood.
Right.
And that's another like just genius aspect to it because like right after he does that, and then Anne and the detective go out to the car. You
Right.
think that's it, if you're watching the film for the first time, you think, okay, these are the 2 survivors, they escaped this nightmare. And don't help me remember, don't let me forget when I say something about nightmares. There's something I want to mention after this too. But like I said, like you said, it keeps going. It just like there's that other twist where he goes back in there, and it's like in like Michael Myers fashion, the body is gone,
Yeah.
uh, and then he finds the razor and he realizes that it's a dull and it's got the fake blood that shoots out of it. And I think this is one of the most amazing shots in the film too, right after this, because as the detective bends down, there is Peter right
That's the
behind him.
connection with
I mean,
Nightmare,
it's like they were right in the same like
right?
position to where he was hidden behind the detective,
Mhm.
and I love that. I think it's awesome.
Now, is that your connection with Nightmare?
No, what I was going to say about that is that when I was looking for the films earlier,
Uh-huh.
I went to Shudder first because I know Tenebrae used to be on there, but it's not anymore.
Right.
But they have something on the main page of Shudder right now in the featured films, and that's the original Nightmare on Elm
Oh,
Street.
yes, they do. I noticed that a night or two.
So with Joe Bob's Night Marathon coming up, I'm assuming they're going to, so they're playing 6 films, I believe, 6 films for the Night Marathon, and I'm thinking 2 of them because they're both on Shudder is the original Nightmare on Elm Street and Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that has to be at least 2 of them for sure, because
That seems a no-brainer to me.
because it's the 40th anniversary of the original and it's the 30th anniversary of New Nightmare.
Yeah.
Do you know? Because maybe all of the films that they're going to be showing. And I don't mean to get off track, but I just wanted
Oh,
to
no, this is
mention
fine.
this. But do you think that being called Night Marathon, there's going to be a theme there? Because
I thought that was possible.
because they could show Nightmare on Elm Street, they could show New Nightmare, and just depending, I'm not sure if these are on Shudder or not, so don't quote me on this or anything, but Nightmare and a Damaged Brain could be one,
Mhm.
or Mick Garris's Nightmare Cafe.
Yeah.
I think my thought is that they're going with a theme where every film they show has Nightmare in the title.
That was my thought too. That was definitely my thought. I thought if they don't get all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies that they could show, they're probably going to mix it up. They'll show
They're
Nightmare on Elm
definitely going to throw something in there, like in typical Joe Bob fashion, to just to throw people off, and they're going to have at least one really bad movie in there, because that's just what he does. Because like they're with the Last Drive-In or anything that he's done in the past, like he'll show something really good and really entertaining one week, and then the next week he'll show something I don't care about at all.
And when they used to show two movies when they do the regular show,
Yeah,
sometimes he would show a really good one.
yeah, same.
And sometimes he'd show that really good one last, and I'd be like, "Dang it!" He'd show the bad one first, and then the really good one.
No, he did one week, and I couldn't get into that first movie he showed. It was the animated week where they
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
first movie I think it was called Mad God or something.
Yeah, I watched that, and it was interesting, but it's not something I'm gonna
Yeah,
wanna
and this
watch
is
all
just
the time.
that's just my opinion. I mean, I've seen a lot of people online within like the Joe Bob community, like the groups and stuff on Facebook, say they absolutely love that film. That it's like one of the greatest animated films they've ever seen. But to me, I hated that movie. I was and I couldn't watch it all the way through. And I mean, I would sit there and like kind of, I had it on as background noise basically because like I would kind of pay attention every now and then what was going on.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, I was like, I just want this to end, I don't care. And the guy that like made it, he was on in the segments with Joe Bob where they were interviewing him,
Mhm.
and that dude seemed like such a jackass to me. Um,
I can't
because
really. I remember the guy was on there, but and that, come to think of it, since you mentioned it, he did seem a little, dare I say, full of himself a little
he
bit.
did, and one of the things that really like got to me that something he said because it seemed like jealousy to me because he had worked on originally a script for Mars Attacks, and they didn't go with it, and they went with Tim Burton's vision, and he shits all over Tim Burton's. And I'm like, look, man, I mean, I may be just biased, but because Mars Attacks is one of my favorite films from the 90s
Tim
ever.
Burton does an excellent job with this one.
I thought Tim Burton's Mars Attacks was amazing, and like, but he shits all over it on Joe Bob, and I was like, all right, if I already didn't like this guy, I mean, I sure don't like him now. Like I
Right.
said, he did. He like you said, he really seemed like he was full of himself. He was very egotistical.
Mm.
He also did like effects and stuff. I think for like Jurassic Park, and that's cool. Like if some of the effects I'm thinking of that he worked on Jurassic Park, he does a fantastic job. I'm not discrediting that guy for that because he does an excellent job when it comes to effects. But when you start like saying asinine things and stuff about other people's work, especially you may have that opportunity to work with that person somewhere down your career. You're basically sabotaging yourself by saying some of the stuff you say. Um, and yeah, but sorry, that's my
Oh
rant for the
no,
night.
that's okay. We can have rants. I did want to read through some of these comments. John says, sometimes people rip off Argento's blood. LOL. I saw The Prey last night, and it looks like he's squeezing strawberry Smucker's jam out of the at the end. So Argento is better than that. Well, yeah, definitely better than that. Um, let's see. John, are you talking about the Nightmare on Elm Street movies? Because you say it's time he would cover them great.
Yeah, I think I can't wait for those to hear Joe because I don't has he ever covered any of the Nightmare films?
Not that I
I
can.
mean, from like Bob's,
I
the
mean,
movie channel or Monster Vision or
yeah, it's
anything.
possible he could have, but I just don't recall.
I can't
Definitely not
either.
Monster Vision.
I can't either. But like I said, I could be mistaken. But I think definitely it's going to be interesting to hear a lot of his thoughts when it comes to those films. Um, if you've never heard him before, if you've heard him, on a previous show that he's done, um, you know, I'm I'm sure he had a lot to say, but like I don't know, but I've never seen him say anything about the Nightmare films before. But I'm excited. I mean, if it is the case, if they are covering those, then I mean, I can't
I
imagine he'll say anything bad about him, but you never know either because he Joe Bob likes to shit on Halloween 3 a lot, and
right.
that's one of my
I
favorite horror.
wonder if they'll ever show Halloween 3 on there.
I think so. I think if Joe Bob ever like decides to call it quits, I
Hmm.
think for the very last show he ever does, it should be Halloween 3.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That'd kind of take the sting off of Joe Bob leaving us. Um, TJ, I agree with that to some extent. He says that's how you get them to stay play the crap first. But here's the thing, I'm an old woman and I get sleepy and I'll just go right out of it and then I'll miss I'll have to watch it on the replay. That's the only downside to that theory. Um, and John says a lot of Joe Bob's choices are definitely stuck to Shutter. I'm sure he doesn't want a lot of them that are shown. And I'm sure he doesn't. There's a certain percentage I would imagine that he doesn't really
I
care.
always assumed that it wasn't Joe Bob choosing these films. I always assumed it was the director Austin
Austin, yeah.
who chooses the films because they kind of have to go just based off what Shutter owns as well. Um, because it's not like they can. Because if you have the Shudder app, and you go back to the older seasons of Joe Bob, a lot of the episodes are missing because they don't like Sleepaway Camp. I don't think is on there anymore because I don't think Shudder owns the rights to that.
Right, they don't have the rights.
They still have a thing on there though called Just Joe Bob.
Yeah, where it's just a wraparound stuff.
Yeah, it's just the sequences with Joe Bob talking and all that. And all of those are on there except for the last like season or two. They haven't updated it in a while for the Just Joe Bob because I was actually going to go and watch it, the Tenebrae one, today after I watched Tenebrae. But they don't have it uploaded on there yet. So, but hopefully they'll get that updated soon enough. But I did want, I did remember one other thing I wanted to mention about Tenebrae, and I wanted to know if you've ever noticed this, Dana, because I only know, many times I've seen Tenebrae, I only noticed this for the first time today. In the scene, before they go back to Tilda and her roommate's apartment, they're like in this bar or whatever, and the one girl, her roommate, is like flirting with some guys and stuff, and she finds the one guy to take back with her. But when she comes over to sit in the booth with Tilda and talking with her, as she's getting back up to go back over to where the guy is, she gets up and slightly turns, and her shirt reveals her nipple, like it falls out.
I did see that today when I was rewatching part of it.
And I had never noticed that before. And my mind instantly went to, I wonder how many times Argento shot that and just decided to leave that shot in there. Because as you know, with a lot of Argento's films, there's a lot of like sexual innuendos placed all throughout his films. And so I just assume that, Argento is a very kind of in his own way, not a really bad way or anything, but he like most men, they have that perverted part of their mind.
Yeah.
And it's comical to me that like he possibly shot that shot, multiple times, but it's like, you know what? That one's got a nipple in it. I'm gonna leave it in there.
we'll use that.
We'll to leave that shot in there. So I thought that was pretty funny.
You know what's funny though, Chris, is I had never noticed that before today.
I hadn't either.
And I was almost like, did I just see what I thought?
Yeah, that's what I did because I had to rewind. I was like, I went, wait a minute. I said, did that just show me? And I was like, oh, well, I guess it did. And then that, like I said, after that, I just thought, I said Argento had to have done that on purpose to lift that in there.
That's an Argento nipple slip for you, guys.
Or I don't even. Argento may have not been the one that edited it. Whoever the editor was of the film had, but of course he had to get Argento's like final say on that. So
yeah, he probably
Argento had something to do with it.
Yeah, it's an Argento nipple slip. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
So guys, if you want to see a nipple slip in Tenebrae,
well, there's plenty. There's plenty to
go around.
There's plenty of them in Tenebrae.
Well, once they get back to the house, like after she's had sex with that guy, she's like half naked, showing her breasts and showing, her nether regions even. I mean, because she keeps sliding that sheet around. She's kind of, it's like she's got a toga on or something. And, yeah, that whole scene, you can have all the nudity that you can handle in that part. But,
Oh, one thing I just remembered about the beginning of Tenebrae when it shows Peter riding the bicycle on the road.
Right.
I've always been like confused by that. Like, where in the world is somebody riding a bicycle on the road with regular traffic like that?
Yeah, it almost seems like to me that would be a death waiting to happen.
Yeah, so if you notice when it shows him and he's riding on the bike, there's like 2 or 3 big trucks like right behind him.
Oh yeah.
And I know that he's not going the speeds of those other vehicles.
No, and it isn't he going to Kennedy International Airport?
Yeah, yeah.
So is
It's
that
odd. It's kind of odd, out of place.
you're talking big city people, and you're not talking about just any old place. You're talking about a gigantic city with all this traffic.
My interpretation of that is that maybe that's just a regular thing in Italy, and that was just Argento's decision to put that in there, and he didn't really think anything different of it.
Yeah, I didn't think about, this part is supposed to take place in the States, and, this might seem out of place a little
Yeah.
bit.
Which that's the case. That's the case with a lot of Italian filmmakers who try to adapt to, American lifestyles and stuff. They try to, interpret their own way of like what they think an American would do.
Mhm.
And you see, if you've ever watched Troll 2, you can see a lot of that.
Yes, you can. I haven't watched Troll 2 in a while. I need to go
It's
back and
fun. I
watch
love
that
Troll 2.
just to have fun, just to watch something
Yeah, it's
and don't have to think
incredibly
about it or anything.
dumb, and just like it don't take any kind of like
No brain power
any
whatsoever.
kind of brain power, or you don't need to analyze it in any way, because like if you're going to try to sit and kill yourself analyzing Troll 2, then more
I don't
power
know
to
what to
you. But
say about that.
I don't think there's any way around that.
I don't think anybody's going to write any scholarly books on Troll 2.
But I love it.
Oh, yeah, it's fun.
That's got a weird taste.
Does it have?
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Chris has given us this kind of mini review on the Beetlejuice Fanta.
I don't know. I mean, I can't explain it. It has an apple like taste to it, but it's also very like, gosh, I don't even know. It's got like a caramelish apple type.
Like a caramel apple flavor?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I've never had anything in my life taste like this. So if you're curious, go find one and try it.
Hey, Victor. Victor says apples and oranges, Troll 2 and Tenebrae.
Hell yeah. Those are 2 totally different films. That's what I was talking about earlier. Like, because, I think this is a great episode to do apples and oranges on, because Tenebrae and Inferno are 2 totally different films.
Yes.
As far as like the pace of the film, the characters in general, just everything. The atmosphere is definitely different in both films. But out of the 2, like I stated before, and I think you would agree, Dana, I gotta go with Tenebrae over Inferno.
Yeah.
And I would, and if you had me watch both films 10 times each in a row, I would say the same thing every time. I don't think my opinion would change. I thought it was going to when I watched Inferno again today. Because like I said, I do love Inferno, but just there's something about Tenebrae that just appeals to me more, and I love a good twist in a film, and when there's multiple twists in there, that helps even more.
Oh yeah, and Tenebrae, like, I just want to bring something. Me and Steve have talked about Tenebrae, and I may be wrong. Steve loves Argento as much as I do, but I get the feeling from Steve that he's never been a huge fan of Tenebrae.
Well, I mean it's just how it goes. With some people, because I've seen the same kind of comments online, like people that weren't a huge fan of Tenebrae. There's a lot of films out there that are widely popular that I'm not a huge fan of.
Right.
But I just, I think that's what's interesting. And it's good that we're discussing this on a show like Apples and Oranges, because that's definitely what it is apples and oranges when it comes to all films. Because, one person could love it and another person, you could ask them about it and they could hate it. And I'm not saying that Steve hates Tenebrae, but
No,
like you
I
said,
don't think he hates it. It's just if you were to ask him what's his, I don't even think it'd be in his top 5. Now, Steve Hunt, if you're still in here, you can tell me I'm wrong. But
I would love to know Steve's top 5 Argento films, actually.
Well, maybe I can get him to, either come on a stream, or when me and him do one of our We Watch Movies things, maybe I'll say, Steve, give us your top 5,
If I was guessing, I would say that Deep Red is probably Steve's favorite. Would you say so or no?
Yeah, I'd probably move towards that. He likes Suspiria real well too. But I think Deep Red is a lot of people's favorite if they watch several Argento films, which was why it was refreshing to hear what your favorite was, Chris, because sometimes you hear people say, "Oh, Deep Red, Deep Red, Deep Red, Deep Red," and then you're like Suspiria, and I'm like, great. See, this is what's great about having Chris on, because a lot of times he doesn't have the same opinion that the.
Well, you may be shocked by this, Dana. I don't think I've ever told you this, but as far as Argento film goes, Deep Red's not even in my top 5. I'm not a big fan of Deep Red, honestly. But I mean, I like it, but it's not. I'm not like overly like crazy about it or anything.
When was the last time you watched it, Chris?
Oh, it's probably been close to 15 years.
I'm going to give you some homework, Chris. Before you're on a stream with me again, I'm going to ask that you rewatch Deep Red, and I want to see if your thoughts have.
Well, that's a good assignment, Dana, because like I said, when I watched Inferno again today, my mind changed a little bit on it.
Yeah.
And I've been finding myself do that a lot with films I've been rewatching here in the past year that I have not watched in several years. Like I watched Footloose again a few weeks ago, and I don't know what made me decide to watch it. But I know what it was, because I was like, I found this list of all these films from 1984. And we're 1984 for films that came out in 84. They're the 40th anniversary. So I was kind of just watching ones that came out, because I was watching like Ghostbusters and Gremlins and Beverly Hills Cop, and and on that list I was just going to one right after the other on the list, and I watched Footloose, and I wasn't excited about watching it when I began. And I was like, I don't, from what I remember, I don't really care much about this movie. But watching it again now, all these years later, I have really a different opinion on it, because I think the film is great. I think it has a really great message, as far as like, not really about rebellion, but just as like kind of a creative freedom.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that.
And so I actually feel a lot different now about that movie. So like, and so I think that's a good idea, Dana. I think I should watch Deep Red again, and maybe my mind's changed on it now. We'll see.
And we don't even have to be talking about Deep Red on the stream that you're on after you watch it. You can just let me know when you've watched it again, and then next time we do a stream together after you've watched it, I'll say, "Hey, Chris, did you do your homework? Did you watch Deep Red? What do you think now?"
But when it comes to Argento, I have a question for you. Look at all his films he released in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have that, and then you have all his films he released in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Which do you feel was a better era for him?
Oh gosh, that's hard because he had some good ones to me in the late 70s.
Well, he had Cat o' Nine Tails, you had Bird with Crystal Plumage, you had Suspiria. What else came out in the 70s? That's the main three that I think of.
But then he had some good stuff in like the mid 80s too.
Well,
Like
yeah.
Phenomena, I love too. Phenomena
Yeah,
would
that's my second favorite Argento
it would be
film.
in my top 5. It would definitely be in my
I mean, and maybe I'm biased, but Iron Maiden having their music played in Phenomena has a big part why it's my second favorite.
Yeah. The soundtrack on that
Yeah, the soundtrack's
is
amazing. And then,
most
Donald Pleasance and Jennifer Connelly, just
oh my
together is
gosh,
great.
that's fantastic. And I recently watched Phenomena again because last night I talked about Phenomena.
TJ just said Four Flies on Grey Velvet. That's another one I'm not a big fan of either.
I have gained a greater appreciation over the years for Four Flies. And I wasn't a huge fan
Maybe I
of
need to
it.
rewatch it too. Maybe I should do a double feature of Deep Red and Four Flies on
There
Grey
you go.
Velvet.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what you think about them after waiting a while and watching them again.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just sometimes I do that.
I was just going to say that a lot of Argento's early work is often compared to Hitchcock's work.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I've never been able to see that. I mean, I can see it in some like Rear Window, like is kind of like a giallo in its own way, like that Argento would make. But a lot of stuff like Vertigo or North by Northwest, Psycho, that Hitchcock type of stuff, I don't see it is in anything like Argento's work.
I don't know if John is still in here, but early on, John said Argento was always best to me when he was more Hitchcock.
Oh, well, see, like I said, I mean, if maybe I'm missing something. I would love for someone to explain how that like John, like he feels that way. I would love to give me an explanation so maybe I can better understand it. Because like for some reason I'm not seeing it. And like, I mean, there's that whole thing where like, somebody getting killed like right out in the open, like how John Saxon's character was in Tenebrae. That's kind of like, Hitchcock would do that a lot in his film. So I can kind of see that, but like I've seen people say, I'm not saying John, but I'm just saying I've seen people online say that Argento's films are almost identical frame by frame to Hitchcock's work. And
I would disagree with that.
Because Argento has a very unique style when it comes to his camera work and everything on the film, and as how the whole film itself is laid out. That's the part of it that is comparing him to Hitchcock that I don't get.
Yeah, I would have to disagree with a statement like that too. That they are definitely not shot for shot like Hitchcock.
TJ says rank Suspiria, Inferno, and Mother Tears. Exactly in that order, TJ. Chronologically.
I would probably, and this might shock people, I'll reverse Inferno and Mother of Tears. Suspiria, Mother of Tears, and Inferno. Just because, again, Inferno is just, doesn't, for whatever reason, maybe it's just I'm not wired up right in my brain or something. Inferno for
Oh,
me
it's
just
not that, Dana. It's just
doesn't seem
everybody
to
has
flow
different opinions.
Well, sometimes I sit here and I think, is there something wrong with me because I can't,
I mean, because like you look at it like, let's just compare it to Blood Harvest. You love it. I really don't.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
But TJ, why don't you tell us how you rank them? I'm curious to see how you rank them, to see if it's similar to Chris or similar to me.
And speaking of Suspiria, though, like, do you know how many times that I have asked Nathan Hanneman to try to get Jessica Harper for Horror Hound?
Probably more times than you can count.
Yeah, I've asked him, and so he told me not long ago though that he's given up on her because they've reached out to her several times, and basically the gist of it is that she doesn't have any interest. So that sucks.
That's sad because
I've been really wanting to meet her probably since I got into going to conventions, but and I've never got to meet Argento. I have Argento's autograph though, because I had a friend that met him at Monster Mania years ago, and he got an autograph for me while he was there. But I've never actually got to personally meet Argento. I don't think he'll ever do. I don't think he travels a whole lot anymore.
Was it Horror Hound that he was going to be at, and then he got injured and he couldn't?
Well, there was that, and then like I call it injured because right after that he made Dracula 3D.
Yeah, right. You're right. And I think Argento's probably getting to the age where he isn't going to want to travel a lot, especially coming to the States, for any sort of convention.
But speaking of conventions, though, there's one that kind of slipped under the radar on me, and I usually try to keep up with like all these ongoing conventions. But one that I have like followed them for years, and maybe I've seen their posts here recently. I just didn't pay attention to the location. But Spooky Empire usually only has their show in Orlando, Florida.
Right.
Well, apparently they have added a second location for their show that's going to be in Charleston, South Carolina next weekend.
Wow.
Where they're having a Dream Warriors reunion. Malcolm McDowell's going to be there. They're having the 2017 version of It, of all the young kids in that. They're all going to be there. Bunch more guests. I mean, you can go to their website and look at all the guests they have, but I did not even know that was happening until today. And I was like, oh, wow. And I was like, because I've always wanted to go to Spooky Empire, but I never wanted to make that trek down to Orlando just to go to it. If they have that again next year in South Carolina, I might try to go to that next year, because it's not going to happen within a week right now for me. I mean,
no.
If I even get to go to Horror Hound at this point.
Boy, Candace will make you take her there if Malcolm McDowell comes back.
Yeah, she loves Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah.
And Dana, I'm sorry, but Robert Englund canceled Horror Hound.
Did he for real?
No, I'm joking.
I was like, I was on that site just today. Don't do that.
But it is, and I'm not asked Nathan about it or anything, because I don't want to aggravate him, because I'm sure he's got a lot on his shoulders right now with the show coming up, and they're probably I think they're still trying to figure out like the whole situation with Robert Englund's, like that, because they've still not announced anything in regards to that autograph
and I were talking
combo. they've not announced anything to do like his photo ops or any of the Nightmare on Elm Street cast member photo ops. So I'm sure they'll get those up within the next week, but it is odd. So it isn't, and I don't believe it has anything to do on Horror Hound's end. I think they're just waiting to hear back from Robert's management and all that so they can iron out all the details.
I
Because
know
they
they
don't.
said Nathan said early on that on the Horror Hound Facebook page that there was a hiccup with it. I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, it's just there's definitely a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes and stuff when it comes to booking conventions and stuff. That that people like Nathan and promoters like him don't want to put out there for everybody until everything's like crystal clear to them. And I understand there's people out there on the groups and on Facebook and everything that are kind of getting a little bit impatient, and they're getting frustrated because nothing. But like again, like just remember, guys, that it's not the promoter's fault most of the time. It's just
It's not easy heading up a convention.
they have to go because as far I know Nathan and Jessica very well, and they're pretty transparent about stuff when it comes to information regarding their show. And they've always been really like well at like updating everyone as soon as they get the information that they have on whatever it may be. So just you guys have to remember there's a huge task, doing this kind of stuff, especially when you're, having to deal with management agencies and all that to get all this stuff, lined out so it'll go, off without a hitch when the show time comes, because that's one of the main things that they're focusing on right now is to make sure that because they know that's why they did this. They announced that they were going to do this autograph and photo op package with him because they knew they had issues in the past when they had him at Horror Hound, because there were people that were like waiting for like 8-9 hours in line, and some of them just being turned away at the last minute and not stood there all that time for nothing.
Right.
And they wanted to make sure that doesn't happen again, that you're not wasting your time enjoying the rest of the stuff that's going on at the convention in the meantime. So just try to remember that and understand that, like when for like you go on Facebook and start bitching for your own selfish reasons. And I don't mean that to sound harsh, but it's just,
No, you're right, Chris, on all that. I imagine that poor Nathan has had a lot of sleepless nights over the years of doing these Horror Hounds.
Yeah, because I mean he's told me some crazy stories of like from like dealing with some of the people in the past, of like certain demands that certain celebs in the past. And I'm not going to say any names because I don't want him to get mad at me or anything. So, but there's just a lot of stuff that he's had to deal with in the past, and there's certain celebrities that he won't deal with anymore because of said reasons. But yeah. So, but I'm hoping we'll get to go. I mean, right now the way I've got everything like now it looks like we will be able to. Maybe I won't maybe get to do as much as I was wanting to do. But I at least want to go and meet Jason Lee, because and possibly Kevin Smith too. If I do meet Kevin, I'm probably just going to do the photo op with Kevin Smith, because I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. I love Clerks, Mallrats. Chasing Amy is my favorite Kevin Smith film, and and Jason Lee's in that one as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping if I just had to just go to just for one person just to meet one person, it would have to probably be Jason Lee, because not only do I love him in Kevin Smith's films, but I'm a huge fan. Candace and her brother CJ were all huge fans of the TV show My Name Is Earl.
Mhm.
Um, and
And he's also in Almost Famous, one of my
he's in Almost Famous. He's the lead singer of Stillwater. And he's all, he started out like as a skateboarder though too, because I don't think I've talked about that much on here, but I'm really big into like skateboarding stuff with Tony Hawk and those type of, and that's basically when he was started skateboarding in the 80s. He was doing a lot of stuff with Tony Hawk, and that's when Tony Hawk was just kind of taking off and had been discovered. And have you ever watched any of those skateboard movies before, Dana? Like Grind or Dogtown and Z Boys, stuff
No,
like that?
I maybe should though. I maybe should try.
Both of those are really, now. If I had to choose, Grind is probably the best one I've seen. It's more of like a comedy and like got a lot of dumb stuff in it, but I like dumb humor. But as far as like a serious like story, like Dogtown Z Boys, which is based off a true story. So it's a lot more serious, more of a drama, and kind of shows what really how these guys got skateboarding to take off back in the 70s, and who was there that made it, because like, Heath Ledger's in it, and Johnny Knoxville has a small part in it. And there's just several people. I can't think of their names right now, but I I would maybe suggest it to maybe just give it a shot. You may end up liking it.
Yeah,
It's a very well made movie.
Blissful wants to know, Chris. She says, "Do you watch his YouTube channel?" She's talking about Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk's. No, I wasn't aware that he had a YouTube channel. But if he does, I'm going to check that out now.
TJ does. He says he loves England, but he shouldn't take 45 minutes.
Well, he does take a while with fans when you go to meet him at his table. I've never done it, but I've heard the stories. And,
they say he likes to talk.
Yeah,
likes to talk.
There's some people that I've heard tell stories about it that say that he will talk sometimes from 10, 15 minutes until they're like, we got to move the line along. We don't. And he's just kind of absent-minded in that aspect. Like he's just talking, he's not thinking, oh, I got all these hundreds of people.
Yeah, he's focusing on that one person that's right there in front of him at that point in time. And I was watching that Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares documentary on Robert Englund again, and they were talking about how that basically Robert Englund's a chatterbox. They have a special feature on the disc that says Robert Englund Chatterbox, and they were talking about sometimes when he's on movie sets, they have to go to somebody and say, Mr. Englund's great and all, but we got to move on. We got to go to this next scene, and he's standing around telling stories.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention something about that too. So I seen this comment up here that Victor had left. He said they announced Robert Englund for Motor City Comic Con up here November 8th to the 10th. Autographs are $150. Yeah, I had heard that. So Robert just did Monster Mania, and pretty sure that his autograph fee at that show was also $150, which means that's what it's going to be at Horror Hound, because typically with a lot of these conventions, the autograph prices and the photo op prices stay the same. Now I had read on, I think, the Monster Mania Facebook page or something like that, when he was at Monster Mania, there were several people saying the same thing. So it wasn't just one person saying this and making it up or whatever, but it was multiple people in the comments were confirming this, that when it come to Robert's autograph table at Monster Mania, he was they said it was around like 100 people per day that he was just getting through. And they said they were probably, they weren't doing the same thing as like what Horror Hound's doing. I guess they just had like hundreds and hundreds of people lined up each day, and he only got through like 100 of them per day. And they said there were some people lining up at midnight the night before. I mean, it's that I'm like, I can't do that. That's nothing I will be ever be able to do. I'm not sitting and waiting for 10 hours or more from midnight at night, to the next day. And, the show will, like, say, if you're waiting at midnight the night before, and then, the show doesn't start till like 10 or 11 the next day. And Robert probably won't even be in the building at his table till about noon. So that would be like 12 hours. You'd be waiting. I mean, I love Robert Englund. I love a lot of celebrities that do these shows, but there ain't nobody you can get me to do that. Nobody. I'm waiting 12 hours and depriving myself of sleeping in a bed,
or eating or anything else.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't do that. And also, like I said, the photo ops prices usually stay the same because they're all done through celebrity photo ops, and that's their pricing, because celebrity photo ops takes a percentage of those sales, and then the celebrity, whoever's in the photo, Robert Englund in this case, takes a percentage. So his photo ops by himself, I'm pretty sure, are either 150 or 160.
Which I would be, Steve would say I was crazy, but I said I'm willing to pay that. I'm willing to pay it.
And the thing is, though, so I've done Robert Englund by himself couple times before, as far as the photo op goes. But with them announcing, Heather Langenkamp's going to be there and several other Nightmare on Elm Street guests, I was, I had it in my mind that I was wanting to do like the cast photo op.
Right.
Now I didn't see what the price was for the whole cast, because they had the same people that's going to be at Horror Hound. They had them at Monster Mania.
Right.
Now I didn't see the price for that, but I did see the price for the duo photo op with Robert and Heather. And like I said, Robert's photo op is like 150, 160 bucks by itself, for himself. Now Heather's, I believe, was like 50 or 55. So if you total those together, let's say it's 160, and let's say hers is 50. So that's $210. Okay. But that's not the price for the duo photo op that I seen that they had at Monster Mania of those two. The with fees and taxes, it was $288 for Robert and Heather Langenkamp together. And I said that if that's almost $300 just for those two, I can't imagine what the price is going to be for the whole cast, because there's like 8 different people.
Yeah.
There's going to be 8 different people from Nightmare going to be at Horror Hound. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to afford it. It's going to be like $500-$600. I said, I just might as well forget it, because I ain't even going to be able to afford the duo of him and Heather. And so it's getting to a point now for me, because I've been really like debating on this for a while, but I feel like I'm getting close to the end of my run with conventions in general, if they're going to keep charging these types of prices.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are getting to that point, Chris, that I still want to go to them, but the list of people that I either want to meet or get a photo op with has severely narrowed. I used to have a bigger circle.
And I guess I should put it that way. Not that I'm going to give up going to conventions altogether, but I'm going to have to cut back on the celebrity part of these conventions, unless they change the price, which I don't see them lowering their prices back to what they were ever. But I just can't do it. I'm getting to where it'd have to be somebody absolutely that I was crazy over, and if they were affordable, like right now with Robert England, like I would love to meet him, get some other stuff I have signed by him, but I can't pay $150 for his autograph. I can't pay that for him. I mean, back when I met Jamie Lee Curtis back in she was $80 per
Yeah.
autograph, but I justified that because I was like, this is probably going to be one of the only shows she ever does, and all of it was going to a children's charity.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I was like, I really had to think about that back then too because of that price. So, I mean, there was a convention in Knoxville like a month or two ago that me and Candace wanted to go to, but we didn't get to. And Paul Williams was there. And, me and Candace are huge Muppets fans. And, he did a lot of music for the Muppets in the Muppet movie. He wrote Rainbow Connection. And then he's also been involved with like Planet of the Apes and all kinds of other stuff. But he was $100 for an autograph, $100 for a photo, and I can't do that. I mean, I know I'm never going to get to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone or anybody like that. They do shows, but their prices are always outrageous. I think like Sylvester Stallone is like $300 or $400 for an autograph. And so it's if I meet anybody else beyond Horror Hound, I mean they're going to have to be in that $40 to $50 range, for an autograph, or I'm not going to be able to do it. I'll still go to conventions probably just for like, see friends and the vendors part of it and everything and panels and stuff like that, that's going to be affordable to me. But I think my autograph and photo ops game is about over.
It's about it's about dried up. The well's about dried up.
Yeah.
John says it's kind of nuts. You pay to drive, pay for a hotel, pay to eat, and then pay to get a signature and possibly get COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a danger too. But he does say I enjoy Scarefest, FrankenCon, and Full Moon. Those are the 3 I do yearly.
I enjoy Scarefest, but they're huge now. They're bigger than they've ever been.
Yeah.
And they're getting like 70 plus guests every year now. Like last year, it was like over 70 guests. This year, it's crazy how many guests they got. They just added Joe Dante too, so I'm gonna try to go.
Did they add?
Yeah, they did add. I think it was last week they added him. I'm gonna try to go on Sunday, I think, because I said after last year, I will never go to Scarefest on a Saturday again.
Yeah, because it's just insane.
I didn't have that great of a time, to be honest with you, last year because there was just so many people there, and all the lines I was trying to get into to meet people were huge, and we had all 3 boys with us, and that's tough too because like they don't want to have to stand around long. And Candace was like, just you go meet whoever, and I'll just take the boys walk around or something. I said, yeah, but I mean, like most of these people I want to meet, I'm gonna have to be waiting a long ass time before I even get to them. And so, I mean, I don't. So I chose like the smaller line. I met like Adrian Barbeau, and I met Melanie Kinnaman from Friday the 13th Part 5, and I think a couple other people I can't remember right off right now, but I was trying to find like smaller lines of people that I still wanted to meet, and then the rest of this time I just kind of looked at like vendor tables and stuff because they had probably at least 200 different vendors in that room with along with all the celebrities. So it was a very huge space they had, but like I said, I don't think I'll ever go again on a Saturday as long as they're having that amount of guests at their show. Wow. I'm like I said, I'm gonna try to go on Sunday unless something changes and they just say, well, Joe Dante is Friday, Saturday only or something. I'm gonna have to choose one of those days. And Friday's probably not going to be possible because I think I'm starting a new work schedule here soon.
Oh
So,
boy,
yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. Not
that
sure what,
don't sound fun.
because my job does this thing every 6 months called shift bids. And they say they go based off of seniority and all that when they choose those, and I'm hoping that's the case because I've been there a lot longer than some of the other people that are currently working there. So I'm hoping I get one of my top picks because they have like 20 different shifts, and you just have to like rank them, like from 1 being the one you want the most, 20 the one you want the least, and then but they always tell you you could get like your 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th pick, depending on where other people choose that same shift, and they can't put as many people on that. But usually every time I do it, I get like at least my 1st or 2nd pick.
Right.
So I'm hoping that's the case, but I do know we have a lot more people working with us now on the team, so I'm just hoping I get something good. I hope I don't get stuck with a shift that I don't really like. You know what I mean?
I hope so too, Chris, that you get the best possible shift that you can. TJ did ask a question: what's better, an autograph or a photo op? Here's my opinion on it, TJ, and keep in mind this is only my opinion. When I originally, I always wanted an autograph. But this was back in the days, and I'm sure Chris remembers those
Mhm.
days when you could take a picture for free with
Yep.
somebody at their
I knew that's
table.
exactly what you're going to say.
And
I,
now I have to either, decide, do I want an autograph or do I want a photo op? Or I will do like with Sam Raimi. I got his autographed at the Lexington Comic Con. I will never go back to that Lexington Comic Con ever again. I'll say that at all. I don't care who's there. I'm not going there again. Um, and then at Horror Hound in March, I got the picture with the Raimi brothers. And so now, but I had to divide it up though. I couldn't,
well,
do both at the same time.
that I'm glad you mentioned that because that kind of makes me sound like a hypocrite. Because, like I said, I wouldn't do that for anybody, but I did do that for Sam Raimi. Now that I think about it, because I actually got him to sign 2 things at that last Horror Hound, which was $100 each. So I
Yeah.
spent $200 in autographs on Sam Raimi. Plus, I got the photo op with all 3 Raimi brothers. So I probably spent close to $400 amongst all that. But I don't think I could do it again because like Sam Raimi was a like top of my bucket list of
Yeah,
people to do.
yeah, he was he was
And so that's kind of an exception. And like I was talking about earlier, like it had to be somebody I was super crazy about. And Sam Raimi was one of them. And I couldn't miss the opportunity to get a photo op with him with his brothers too.
right.
Um, but but yeah, I would. So to answer TJ's question, um, an autograph, depending on who it is, it can be more personable. You can have more time to talk with them, but sometimes you might meet somebody that don't really want to talk
That
back.
stares at the floor the whole time you're
Yeah,
there. It's
and a photo
distracting.
op is like you like in pose, boom, it's done.
Yeah.
I mean, but except like Robert England, he like I said, he's a chatterbox, and he was even trying to talk to us, during the photo op session stuff, and they didn't really want him doing that because it's supposed to be like really quick, getting all those people through there. Um, so, but like, and I can remember like last year when I went to Scarefest, I did the cast, all the full cast of Sleepaway Camp photo op.
Uh-huh.
And I was literally like, I walked in there, posed with them in the middle, and then like I was out there, and it was like 10 seconds,
Yeah.
So, but that's just the con of it. The pro thing for a photo op is that, you're having a really nice professional photo with them that you can
Right.
frame, put on your wall, whatever.
Yeah, I have
Uh,
my Raimi Brothers one right here on a shelf where I can
and
look at it
and you
all.
can show to people, like, I mean, if you care about that sort of thing, you can show to people that you actually met them. Having an autograph, like, a lot of people nowadays like want to see proof. Like, how do I know that's real? How do I know you really got that from them? So, like, back in the day, like Dana said, you could meet somebody, get their autograph, and get a free picture with them, and you still get pictures with them, but usually nowadays, um, unless it's like some of Sean Clark's clients, if you pay for an autograph, he's still like Nick Castle played Michael Myers.
Mhm.
You can get his autograph and still get a picture with him along
Oh,
with the price of the autograph. And
mhm.
that's how not all of Sean's clients are like that, but a lot of them are. Um, and PJ Souls, I know she still does a thing where, like, it's an autograph for $40 or 2 autographs, also still $40.
Right.
Uh, and you get a free picture with her.
Mm.
And like, but that's a very like minor like portion of celebrities that do that.
Yeah,
Most of them
there's
now,
still celebrities that will do that. We don't want to give the illusion that no celebrities do
yeah,
that anymore.
but most celebrities nowadays will, if they do take pictures at their table, it's an additional fee.
Right.
And it's not always going to be the same either. Like, some people could charge $60 for an autograph, $60 for a photo, or $80 combo.
Right.
And then somebody on down the line there could be like $40 autograph, $40 photo, $60 combo. Um, so it's all different. You really and lately I've been trying to, like, that's why I follow all these different conventions, because I also like to help people out that do want and can meet these people. I've been trying to keep an up to date list of celebrities that regularly do conventions, and what their autograph price is, if they offer selfies at the table, how much that is, how much their combos are. I try to get all that information just to help people, especially newer people that are just starting to go to conventions, because when I started going to conventions, the first one I ever went to, I had no idea like what everything was going to cost. I didn't know how much I was needing to bring. So I think when I went, I only took like $100 with me. The first convention I ever went to, and this was at the time when autographs were like $20 per person, and you could get a free picture. So I got to meet a few people, on that $100. Plus, I had money to eat on and everything else, because it was just like a day trip with one of my friends. But nowadays, like the prices everything are, you really got to prepare these newbies that are coming into these conventions.
Yeah, because you could end up taking out a small loan to finance your convention trip, which wouldn't be a wise decision to make to do that.
TJ says PJ does photo ops. They're not they're photo ops. They're like a selfie type photo where you can stand there and something that you can either take the photo yourself with your phone, or somebody like the assistant or whatever the table will do that for you. But it's not like a pro photo op. I mean, so yeah, for most people that's allowed, TJ. But just like there's certain people like Sam Raimi, Robert Englund, um, I'm sure there's several others that do not do table pigs.
And they have signs up at their table that
Mhm.
said, you can't take a selfie, you know.
Which is
They
odd, and that has to be a personal preference from Sam Raimi, I think, because uh,
either that or his management
well,
one.
I wouldn't think it is his management, and here's the reason why I think that, because Sam Raimi and Eli Roth were right beside. Well, Eli was down a little bit down from Sam Raimi at The Last Horror Hound, and both of those guys are managed by the same guy from Dangerous Entertainment.
Oh,
And Eli Roth was allowing selfies at his table for an additional fee. But Sam wasn't. So I'm thinking that has to be a personal preference from Sam on that, and it's not just management. Because you have to remember these managers, the celebrities are not working for them. The managers are working for
For
the
the
celebrity.
Yeah, exactly. Victor says, I'm kind of over those prices. I'm old and used to get autographs back in the 90s and 2000s for like $20 for a big star. For many, if you bought an 8 by 10 for $10, they would sign them for free. Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah.
I'm old enough where I remember those
Yeah,
days.
and and I was talking to Candace about this the other day. Like, a guy that was a real, like, he was a real one for till the very end. It was Sid Haig. Sid Haig, even when all these prices were climbing, people were switching from 20 to $40 to or more. Sid, for if you brought your own item, at least to him, he was $15 an autograph to the day he died. And pictures were free with him. And somebody, I noticed this when I was updating my list, when I was trying to pull all the information for that list, that Doug Bradley, he still, if you go to his table, he doesn't charge for photo. You don't have to get an autograph or nothing from him.
Wow, I did
You
not
can
know
ask
that
for a
about
photo with him, and he does it for free. So that's kind of shocking, because it feels like he's kind of, he played Pinhead, and Hellraiser is a big top property when it comes. You would think that he would maybe not do that, but I think it's awesome that he doesn't.
Right. Exactly. And Victor does bring up a very good point, and I've tried to think about it in these terms, especially when I don't have the extra money to get this. But Victor says, honestly, I would just as soon have a short conversation with somebody. I don't need to prove my life experiences to anyone. The memories are mine, with or without photographic evidence. And Victor, you're exactly right on that. The memories are what ultimately, that's the most important part of it.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that too. But for me personally, photographic evidence is a major part of that memory for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a personal thing for me. Like, I mean, um, because, and that's something me and Candace have. I don't get as many autographs as I used to, unless it's somebody that I have to get. Like, I've already started a piece that I've been working on for years, like Sam Raimi. Like, I had all these other people on my Evil Dead poster and my Evil Dead 2 Book of the Dead from those respective films, but I did not have Sam Raimi on those.
Right.
So I only got him to complete that. And I don't have to worry about taking those pieces to any other conventions because they're done. But as far as I don't get many autographs anymore. I mainly just do photos or the pro photo ops.
Right.
Because I like having pictures like that. I think, and I don't usually do like the single person photo. The only photo ops I try to shoot for, while they're super expensive, I like the
It's
group
the group
ops
ones. Mm-hmm.
because I feel, because you can't do that at like their normal tables. You can't just go to you can't go to Robert England's table and say, "Hey, head of Lane Camp, man, the
Yeah,
line,
come on
everybody come
over here.
over here. Let's get a picture." You can't do that.
Right.
So, you got to do this pro, and unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to get the pro photo up because it's gonna be way too high. But there, it just depends. Like, you can go and do certain group ops that won't be as much. Like, me and Candace did once. This was several years ago though, so I'm sure it's went up now if those people were to do the same show. But um, we did a monster squad, and it was like all the monsters, and it had the girl that plays Phoebe, which is Ashley Bank, and they had Andre Gower that plays Sean in there, and and Rudy, and the dad in Monster Squad. It was around like I want to say like 8 people or something from the cast, and it was like less than $200.
Right.
So it was like, but I'm sure it's probably more now. But like I love those. Those are the only photo ops I really like. That's why I did the trio with the Raimi brothers at
Yeah.
Horror instead of just getting one with Sam, because I'm like, why would I not get one that has all
Yeah,
three
because
of them?
I was like, when am I going to get another chance to get a picture with Ivan too?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that was.
I didn't get Ivan's. I got Ted Raimi's autograph at that same show.
Mhm.
But that's one I didn't get, and I kind of regret it now. I didn't get Ivan's autograph, but I said I at least got a photo op with him, and I can look at that to remember.
Right, exactly. And I thought about it that way too. I thought I could just get a picture with Sam,
Mm-hmm.
but why do that when I can pay just a little bit more and get all 3 of the Raimi
Yeah,
brothers in
and
that?
it wasn't that bad either, because I think like Sam by himself was like $100 or something for photo op, but for like all 3 of them, it was like what? It was like, what was it, like 150, $160 or something like
Yeah,
that?
150, but then you got those fees and stuff, so it's a
Yeah.
little bit more.
Well, yeah, because it was like, with the fees and everything for just Sam, because like Sam was 100, so you would probably be like $120 or $130 with the fees and taxes for just Sam's. So
Right.
yeah, it's I know it's like it's a very like double-edged sword, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But you know, look at it, and if you look at it another way, it's like, if you enjoy it, if you're comfortable with it, which, because you have a passion for those movies and these people that are involved with them, do it, because you only live once. And if
That is true.
if it's something it's going to create a good memory for you, if it's something you feel like it's worth it, go for it. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and I've kind of gotten to that point somewhat, because used to I would just say I'm not getting photo ops. I'm not getting photo ops. You could ask Steve. I would say I'm not doing that, and then you offer me the 3 Raimi brothers in a photo op, and I'll do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money, like I said, but um, money ain't gonna mean nothing when you're dead in the ground.
You are correct. You are correct on that, Chris.
So, I mean,
TJ does ask too, would you rather a celeb just stand there or do something weird or funny in a photo op? I mean, it can be either or for me. Now,
yeah,
the picture of me and Steve with the Raimi brothers
yeah.
was classic, because I didn't even think about it, and I didn't even think about it at first until people started pointing it out to me. But Sam Raimi's going,
Yeah.
and pointing at Steve, and Steve
Because
thought bent
Steven
over.
coming right in front of him. But
Oh man,
yeah, I mean, I guess I'm kind of the same way. Like, it just depends on who the celebrity is. Like, if they kind of have like a fun personality, or they hold on one second, I gotta let this dog in. He's barking his head off.
okay. Uh, John, you say you can get the Scout Taylor and Danielle Harris double photo for $135. I would never. Now, I just don't like Scout Taylor Compton. I mean, I don't like her acting. I don't, and I don't know what in the hell has happened to Danielle Harris over the years, but
Yeah,
she's got.
those the prices they're charging now for like the double photo op for Scout and Danielle. Oh my Lord, it's crazy. Like, I met Scout at the very first horror hound I went to in Cincinnati back in 2009, and she was $10. I had her sign my Rob Zombie's Halloween poster. Um, she was super nice. Like, we actually talked about Skyline Chili, and she had never been, and she was really wanting to go. And then she ended up going that same night, because me and my friend Justin, we went, and like she was in there at the same time we were, and she like waved at us and she remembered us. So I thought that was pretty cool. But like the stuff that she's doing now with Danielle, like, I get they do have that podcast and everything together. But like they do like the double photo op, and there's one where they're like all bloody and they have like fake blood all over, and they get it and they get it all over the fan that they're in the photo with. I'm like, listen, I am not
Nah,
planning
that's
for you
going
to
too
get
far.
my clothes all like covered in fake blood. I'm not doing that.
They'd have to wrap me in plastic like I was at a Gallagher thing or something before I let them do that.
If anybody don't know who Gallagher is, just Google him.
Me and Steve did get to see Gallagher before he passed away. He
Oh,
actually
really?
came to Louisville.
You sit in the front row and get watermelon smashed all over you?
Well, some flew back where we were. We were a little bit further back, but it was a small
Oh,
venue.
that was a character, Gallagher.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You got to see him, though.
Yeah, I was like, we gotta see Gallagher. I grew up watching this guy. I said, we gotta go see him. And Steve was like, all right, we'll go see him. But guys and gals, I went way over what I intended this to be, but it was fun, and we talked about a lot of different things. Chris, is there anything that you wanted to bring up or promote or anything before we tie things up?
Can't think of anything right off. Said I'm all I can think of. Just want to say again that I'm gonna try to go to Horror Hound. I mean, it looks like we'll be able to. That we won't be able to do as much as we can. But
the important thing is all of us got to go out to lunch again.
Yeah, I'm still looking forward to it though. What day did you decide you was going to go on?
Saturday. That's
Saturday.
Well, I mean, I've got those press passes now, but that was the day I got the tickets for.
Okay, for Saturday. Okay. That's definitely the most busy day for all the conventions.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I was at the last one and it didn't. I mean, it wasn't super. It didn't feel.
It wasn't too bad, no.
But this one is going to be a little bit different. I feel because with Robert Englund, with Kevin Smith, with a lot of there's a huge fan base right now for the newer Scream films, and I know there's going to be a lot of the cast members for that. And they're going to have like the Cole Sprouse crowd is in the Lisa Frankenstein movie he was in, because the girl Catherine Newton's also going to be there, so they're going to have both of them. I think she's there only on Saturday. So
did you see the photo of her by herself as $105?
Yes, I did. and I'm glad I have no interest. Sorry for anybody.
I don't have any
her, but I'm an old school type of guy unless it's somebody that really stands out in modern horror to me. But I'm sorry, I'm not gonna pay $60 plus for an autograph for somebody I don't care about. It's in like one of their Scream films, and I love the Scream movies, but I like the newer ones, but there's like nobody in those films really that I would care to meet unless it was maybe like Jenna Ortega, because I do like her. I like her and other stuff other than the Scream film she's in, like Wednesday and X and some other things that she's part of. But like but most of the newer people in those films, I just like, I'm good. I don't need to meet them.
Yeah, not gonna. And I was, some of those prices, that I saw, I'm like, and I do this every year at convention time. I just sit there and shake my head.
Yeah. It's crazy for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Jack Quaid, I would like to meet him too, because outside of Scream, I really am a huge fan of the TV show The Boys. and he plays Huey in that. So
He
yeah, I would probably meet him too, just depending on his price though. TJ, I mean, if he's too much, then I'm sorry. You
I'm
go.
sorry, Jack Quaid.
Sorry, Jack Quaid. You can't have my money, man.
I gotta keep some. I gotta eat. Gotta pay the bills.
But I think I was more so referring to like I think her name's like Melissa Barrera, and
Yeah.
then there's another girl that's going to be there. I think her name is Mikey Madison.
Yeah.
She was in one of the newer screen, and I've already seen prices for her, and I think it's $60 for an autograph, $60 for a selfie, no combo.
Oh wow. Dang.
And I'm like, I don't know her from anything else. So, and I don't even care for her in that movie. So,
Right. Yeah, I think it's just, a
it's
matter
the
of
Walking
preference.
Dead effect, is what it is. It's the Walking Dead effect. I don't care if anybody who said that it had nothing to do with what it had everything to do with the Walking Dead back in 2013 of everybody upping these prices.
Yeah. Because they're thinking if so and so from The Walking Dead can get that price, by golly, I'm gonna get that
Well,
price.
that's exactly what happened because back in 2013, and I know you're trying to end this thing, and I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's fine.
But back in 2013 at Horror Hound, when they had that huge Walking Dead reunion, and that's when they started like they were the first ones to up their prices. John Carpenter was at that same Horror Hound downstairs in the convention center, and he kept his prices what they were for that weekend. But the very next show Carpenter did, his prices were upped. And because it's basically that whole thing where, like, if this person from Walking Dead can charge this, I feel like I'm a bigger name, so I'm going to charge that too. And that's why Robert Englund does what he does, because Robert Englund is one of the most highest celebrities, autograph price wise, photo op price wise, in the whole convention circuit, because of who he is. I mean, he's friggin' Freddy Krueger. I mean, and it's because of that it just became a what do you call it? A chain reaction type deal. Because after that, you have Kane Hodder, the prices he's charging now, because he's Jason, and he's one of the more popular Jasons out there. So it's all supply and demand, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with all of that. And but on that note, before I do really fall asleep on
Oh,
everything.
shouldn't we rank Tenebrae and Inferno?
Oh, we give a rating on them?
Yeah.
Chris, you want to go first?
Well, I'll start with Inferno. I would give Inferno a 3. And I don't really know how to explain that other than just like, that's it's not I love the film, like I said, but it's not like one of my favorites or anything. I don't put it like in one of my top Argento films or anything either. But I feel like it's still a great film and it deserves that 3. How do you feel about that, Dana?
Yeah, I would stick with a 3 for Inferno too.
And for Tenebrae, I would give it a 4.5 if you had a half.
Okay, envision that half, guys and gals. I promise. Like, I need to get off my butt.
It's never gonna happen.
Chris is saying I'm never going to do
I'm
it.
joking.
Hopefully, I will be able to get off my butt and do that at some point in time. I even added I did a 4.5 when me and Steve, one of our Highway to Hells we did, because I went back and I edited the stuff together and I just put that up there. But Well, Chris is probably going to think, here she goes again, giving these things a 5. But I got to give Tenebrae 5 Dead Eyes Out.
I think that's fine. I mean, I think it deserves a 5. I'm just like I said, I've told you before as far as like my rating thing, it's something I have to absolutely undeniably love. Like, and it has to be like one of my top films that I would, think about even giving a 5. But so I think a 4.5 is as close as I want to get with Tenebrae though, because it's like I said, it's a fantastic film.
That is fair.
It's a fantastic, even though it's not one of my like favorite films of all time or anything, it still deserves 4.5. It still deserves a 5, even at that.
So I'm going to make you eat crow, TJ. TJ says she lies. There will never be a half. So we'll see. We'll see. Victor says, Chris, I hope eventually you and Candace can bring back your Munsters podcast. That was fun for a Munsters fanboy.
Yeah, I hope so too, Victor. We, like I said, I can't really get into it, man, but got a lot of stuff going on right now. Our mind is kind of like other places right now. Like that's why I don't really know if I'm gonna get to go to Horror Hound or not. I'm thinking I will, but yeah, there's just a bunch of stupid stuff going on right now. So yeah.
But so I want to thank Chris first of all for before we get off here for the night for being on here with me. This was one of those really fun apples and oranges. They're all fun, but some of them were more fun than others, and this was one of the ones I'm going to remember as being extra fun.
Yeah,
so,
I love this one actually. This is one of the more. This is probably one of the most fun like episodes of Apples and Oranges I've ever been on. So I really appreciate you having me on here, Dana.
Well, you have an open invitation, Chris, to come on anytime, because so does Candace. And really, unless you show me that you're going to be a jerk on here, everybody has an open invitation. Blissful. I don't even know if Blissful's still here.
She's never going to come on. No.
But I want to thank everybody that was in the chat tonight. We had a nice discussion about conventions even after we were through talking about.
Yeah, that wasn't planned at all, but it just kind of naturally happened.
Just happened. TJ, you say I recorded stuff for my upcoming YouTube show. Fingers crossed. Well, yeah, let us know when everything gets up and running, TJ. I want to check that out. But I guess we'll call it a night. It is now 10:24 Eastern time. So we'll just call it a night. But me and Chris are off like two dirty shirts, and I want to remind everybody, as I always do, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Today was hump day, folks. We got 2 more days.
Yeah, we're almost there.
We're almost there.
Almost the weekend.
And I know if my mom was watching this, she'd be like, Dana, don't wish your life away. I'm not wishing my life away, Mom. I'm not. I just want to get to the fun part of the week, which is always the weekend for me.
AKA rest.
That too. Yeah, that too. But we're out of here for the night, but we'll see everybody next time. Bye, folks.
Bye, everybody.